What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We are going to be talking about Scream 2. Now, this is a film that I actually watched later in life, and I thought this movie was a lot more fun than it had any right to be. The film takes place 2 years after the events of the first film. Sidney and Randy are now adjusting to the college life. That is until somebody dons the Ghostface costume. I really enjoyed this movie. I don't know how high I have it when it comes to horror sequels, but this one is definitely in the top 10. Yeah, it still copies the same story beats that we had in the first one, but that did not take away from the enjoyment that I had with this movie, because I enjoyed watching these characters grow and be in a new position where they feel like they are safe until somebody comes into the picture with the Ghostface costume, and now you feel unsafe and uncertain where things are going. And that's what I really enjoyed about this movie. This movie had a lot of things that I thought were pretty clever, even though some of them are pretty cheesy, and it works at times and doesn't really feel out of date to me. One of the things that I really admired about the first film is the fact that there were no pacing issues. It flew by. That movie is about an hour and 50 minutes. This movie is about 10 minutes longer, so you really don't feel that stretch of time because you're really invested with these characters. You have the returning cast in this movie with Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Jamie Kennedy, and they all have great, fantastic chemistry together, especially when it comes to the newcomers of Jerry O'Connell and Timothy Olyphant. I think Timothy Olyphant as Mickey is one of my favorite characters of the franchise. That is until we get into Scream 4, and we're going to be talking about that movie. What they do with that character was not be a copy of Randy, but trying to mimic Randy, and there were a couple of points that that character makes towards the end of the film that I thought kind of still apply to nowadays. That is what makes this movie one of the best horror sequels, is the fact that it doesn't feel out of date. It feels like it was ahead of its time just a little bit, or it was taking the same commentary that they had at that time, and you are able to apply those methods to today. That is something that is done great. When it comes to the meta-ness, there are times where it does get a little bit heavy-handed, but it does not take away from the enjoyment of this movie. And I think that is the most consistent that I have with this movie, is the fact that there are issues that I have with this movie, but they are just so minor that it doesn't really take away from these characters, because you are very invested in what they're trying to do. When it comes to the relationship between Derek and Sidney, that is one relationship that I kind of wish was something that was explored a little bit more, because I thought Jerry O'Connell in this movie was absolutely fantastic, especially when it comes down to the cafeteria scene. I know a lot of people may find that scene very cheesy, but I thought it was sweet, it was humble, and that is what I enjoyed about this movie, is the fact that you have that chemistry there. But even when it comes down to the kills, even though there is really nothing inventive in this movie that really one-ups what we had in the opening of Scream, there are still some that really get you by surprise, especially one that surprised me, and that is the death of Randy. That was one of the most heartbreaking scenes that we had in the Scream franchise up until we had Dewey get killed off in Scream 5. Because Randy is just one of those characters that you want to hang out with every single day. And you kind of feel his absence in later installments, and that kind of gets replaced here and there with Kirby and Scream 4. But just the relationship between everybody in this movie is what makes this movie works. Yeah, there are story beats in this movie that kind of do feel repetitive, but I really enjoyed a lot of this movie, especially when you have the reveal towards the end of the movie that kind of copies the reveal of Friday the 13th, the original. And you kind of should have felt it from beginning, but it just caught me off guard just a little bit that it works. And that is what makes this film series work, is the fact that it is not just one singular person as Ghostface every single movie. It does feel like its own murder mystery, and that is what attracts me to the Scream franchise. It's the fact that it's not just one person that dons the costume. Yeah, you can have the logic issue about the person inside the costume, but aside from that, it actually works for me, and it doesn't feel like it takes away from the first film. Is this movie a bit of a step down from the first film? absolutely. But you still feel a lot of the magic from the first film. There are story beats in this movie that doesn't take away from the enjoyment that I had with this movie, and it just makes it a lot more fun. This is one of the better horror sequels that we've had, and I still enjoy it. But those are my thoughts on Scream 2. Have you guys checked it out? Did you enjoy it? Is this one of your least favorite? Go ahead and drop the thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this video, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on more. Click that bell notification so you get notified every single time that a video pops up. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side.